Hello and welcome to our Expert Online weekly sessions. We skipped the session last Wednesday. We decided to take a breather to settle in with all the events going on in the world. And as much as we want to continue business as normal, operations as normal, I believe it's not really possible in today's world. That's why we've decided to pick a topic today. How to lead, how to navigate your business for the times of disruption and uncertainty. Just a quick disclaimer, we're not going to be discussing and going all over again for COVID, and we're not going to go into discussing the events in Ukraine too much, but it will serve as a a current context as of what is going on in the world right now. And today our guest is Peter Ekmark, the CEO at Internet Vikings. Hi, Peter. How are you? Oh, sorry. My bad.
Hello, Julia. I'm very good considering the circumstances. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Peter is a current running CEO for Internet Vikings, and he has been in the managerial executive positions for over a decade now. So we thought there's no better person to ask how to lead a company through the crisis. So I hope you'll provide some interesting insights from your side, Peter.
I will try.
I'll try. Before we kick off, I just wanted to say we will continue with our online expert series next week as well. It will all be dedicated to Latin America, and we will be meeting up at 3 p.m. as normal CET time. However, I will not disclose the guests that will be joining us next week, and I will not be disclosing the dates as of yet because we might have several streams in a row. So please stay tuned on our social media. And without any further overdue, let's begin our session today. So the first question would be, Peter, probably we'll start with something more generic. The past 2 years have disrupted the world. We faced some unprecedented events in the face of COVID pandemic and current war in Ukraine. And as a CEO, as somebody who has been in charge of the companies for quite some time, what would you say? What are the first things business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are running businesses should focus on when they're affected by the uncontrollable yet extreme external circumstances?
It's a very good question, and I don't think there is one answer that sort of fits all the circumstances. But I would say the number one thing to keep in mind is not to panic.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done, but it's also very important. Nothing good will come out of panic, and I think it's our responsibility to remain as composed and sensible, at the same time assertive as we can be. And as a company, I cannot stress enough the importance of contingency plans. You need to sort of plan for the worst before it actually happens. That is very important. So if you have contingency plans, you need to be ready to put them into effect. That would be definitely the number one answer to that question. There are two other things that comes to mind, and that is communication. The importance of communication cannot be stressed enough. I think we all have a responsibility, considering the circumstances, of course, to inform as much as we can, to be transparent, which is fairly obvious, and also to some extent as stringent as we can be in the overall communication towards the people within the company and our employees. Thirdly, which is definitely also as important, is to remain available. Today, we are working globally, we are in different time zones, and ultimately, I think it's my responsibility to remain available 24 hours, 24/7, as much as I can be, for anyone that has a need to communicate for whatever reason. So availability and obviously being compassionate and understanding for the situation we are in, and also to some extent to accept that everyone reacts very differently to a crisis, and make sure that you are adapting to that the best you can.
Thank you very much. Your last point raises my next question is the COVID pandemic and the conflict in Ukraine are different. We have witnessed throughout history a lot of crises, let's say, and a lot of global events that have affected many countries. However, these ones are different and unique in terms that they affect not only businesses and professionals, but they affect people deeply on a personal level. So, how do you find and where is the balance between maintaining the business as normal, continuing the operations, and remaining humane? Where do you draw the line?
That's also a very, very good question. Well, crisis is a part of personal life, but also business life. No crisis is like any other that we know, but they all have one thing in common. They will not last forever, and that's very important to keep in mind. The balance. I think success is a function of our ability to resolve problems as they come. And most problems can only be resolved by people. We have the ability to communicate, and that's how we resolve most of the problems we face. And since all business is built on people, being human, focusing on resolving those problems will, to some extent, eventually result in success.
Thank you. Thank you. So you've mentioned that all businesses are built on people, and people at work is a huge topic right now, and it's of an extreme importance. So, how do you approach employee management and support your people in the turbulent times? How do you provide guidance to them? Can you name any examples how you've approached and how would you recommend others to approach it?
Let me begin by highlighting that this is not about me. This is about we or us as an organization, as a company. Internet Vikings, we have a substantial amount of our staff present in Ukraine. And we've taken a number of steps to directly to support our people and their loved ones, of course. Safety will always take priority. That comes first, no matter what. To give a few examples, everyone affected in one way or the other will work when they can, from where they can, and if they can. We will make sure that we are remaining stable, making sure that we can keep on paying the salaries regardless of their circumstances. Safety comes first. We also offer relocation, accommodation to support those that have been forced to leave Ukraine. We have not capped our efforts in any way. We will adapt as we go and as the situation develops. I think at the end of the day, we will do whatever it takes to support our people and their families. That's what we have to do. That's what we should do. That's what we will do. It's nice to see, by the way, that it's not only us, right? It's the whole Europe is coming together. It's, for me, baffling and amazing to see what Poland has done. Just to take one example, 1 million refugees has taken the path to Poland, and they are dealing with it family by family and sharing that responsibility. A couple of years back, Europe faced another migration crisis, which I believe roughly involved 1.5 million people, but that was over the course of 2 years. Now it's been 2 million people in 2 weeks. That situation is unprecedented, but so far it amazes me how we are all coming together and helping out the best way we can.
Perfect. And you've discussed the employees that are directly affected, and what about supporting the employees that are not directly involved but are still affected? Because, as you said, the response from the world has been great, and many people, even if they're not directly involved in the Ukraine crisis, people are still scared, people are still upset, people are still confused and disoriented. How do you handle those employees?
To come back to what we talked about in the beginning, be available, communicate, inform, be transparent, and do not panic.
Fantastic. Thank you. In the beginning of the interview, in the first question, you said that it's important to be prepared. Well, sometimes it's not quite impossible possible to prepare because nobody expected COVID and nobody expected to what scale it will achieve. There were sort of let's say, hints what might happen with Ukraine, but nobody wanted to believe until the very last moment. So sometimes it's just simply not possible to prepare for the crisis. So my question would be, how do you strategize? I believe it's important to stay extremely flexible and have strong leadership in these times. So how do you strategize during the times like that? Where does one begin? How do you stay on top of business and maintain a good grip all over, let's say, the machine?
Again, a very good question, Julia. You're really putting me on the spot here. Well, firstly, you can never prepare for a crisis. Uh, by default, it will be something that you are faced with unprepared. But having said so, something that never ceases to impress me is the human ability to adapt to different situations, to different scenarios, to different circumstances. And again, as we said before, all business is built on people. And so is Internet Vikings. And we will adapt. The way I see it is, as long as we, as a business, make sure that we remain stable and deliver a sustainable value to our customers, we have a solid business model. That's ultimately what's most important, because then we will be there and then we can remain helping our people and others as well.
Fantastic. Sounds great. I remember hearing a phrase from you that tough times do not last, but tough people do.
Yes, that's true. And we're seeing a lot of toughness from the Ukrainians, given the circumstances. That's very true.
That's true. And talk about the iGaming industry. Well, with all seen, and actually it came as a huge surprise when all businesses were shocked by COVID and the businesses were going into decline, iGaming industry has actually flourished across multiple verticals. First of all, it's increase in the number of players and consequentially the increase in the revenue. It's also has led to the opening of new markets that we couldn't have think of even opening their borders to iGaming. And we've seen increase into creation new games and new iGaming so to say, branches like fantasy sports and stuff like that, and flourishing. And current situation hasn't affected industry that much yet. So what do you think is going to happen next? Will the industry be affected or not? Are there any ongoing concerns in relation to the future at the moment? And are they valid in your opinion?
Well, the the iGaming industry, they've been around and evolving now for over 2 decades. And I would say, like every other industry, they have faced and dealt with a number of challenges during that time. I have no doubt whatsoever that the people in iGaming industry are as shocked as everyone by the recent developments. I'm sure they will act responsibly and sensible to the situation. I've been very happy to see that there's been a lot of initiatives going on for various charities and donations to Ukraine and abroad. But to nail it down, I think the main concern for that vertical is something we all share to some extent. That is that the war actually expands to other territories, and that we, would be facing a major recession or a financial crisis. So it's not specifically tied to that industry vertical per se, and it's a very valid reason to be concerned about the development of the war. I think we all want it to stop as soon as possible.
That sounds good. I left a provocative question towards the end. So now it was a shock to the system for everybody 2 weeks ago. Nobody has expected it. Everybody struggled to accept it. People were disoriented, and the emotions were running and continue to run extremely high. But now, sort of, feelings are settling in, and people are coming to terms and realizing what the situation is. So people are coming up with a moral dilemma, which I had from day one as a PR and communications person, where is it okay to continue as normal with the operations, with work, with advertisement, with marketing? Shall I pause it? How much attention shall I pay to the topic? So now within the industry, we see the questions rising. Is it okay to hold conferences? Shall we pause them? Is it okay to hold networking events? Is it okay to celebrate, have awards when people are suffering not that far away from us? Like, what should we do? And these are all valid questions. I'm not going to ask you the provocative question because I believe there's no single answer to it, how you should go ahead. But how do you approach these kind of questions? What values do you lean into when, what gives you guidance in making such decisions?
Well, I can't really say that the recent events has changed our approach to those events that we attend and are being part of. Concerning our staff and the company, I would say that safety and sustainability are the core values. They must always come first. The pandemic that we've now sort of seen the end to, which has been around for 2 years, had to some extent made us all act perhaps even more responsibly, and we must continue to do so. The industry we are in is global, so traveling is a part of it. I think that will continue to be difficult. So online events and marketing will continue to be a very important alternative. And I think we have to ask ourselves before we attend to any of the events we normally do, if there are safety concerns and sustainability concerns. My guess is that we potentially might start to see more niched, geographically or market-oriented events with perhaps a more frequent occurrence in the coming years. But that remains to be seen. Given the situation, life must still go on, and that also includes business continuance.
Thank you very much for this, and probably will be the last question for today. These are not easy times, but I would like to finish on a positive note. As you previously mentioned, the response of the world and of the industry in particular has been amazing. Whilst COVID has divided the world and everybody was pulling the blanket over themselves, the situation in Ukraine has united the world. It's incredible to see how businesses, governments, and individuals are responding to the ongoing events. And it's amazing to see how fast was iGaming's reaction, not only companies helping out their employees, but as well establishing different charities and collecting the funds, trying to help people as well. Imposing certain measures against Russian and withdrawing businesses from Russia as, let's say, support to the ongoing situation in Ukraine and showing solidarity to the people there. So, what do you think? Is this enough? What iGaming is doing? Do you think we can do more? Do you think we can take the leadership position and even show more to the world and provide more help and provide more support?
This is obviously not an issue only relating to iGaming, and the short answer to your question is that we can always do more. Question is what? There is an expression that management is doing things right and leadership is doing the right things. I think we should listen and consider that right now. We've lately seen a number of major corporations, and again, not by any means limited to iGaming, taking leadership and doing what at least they think is the right thing to do. For instance, I just noticed that McDonald's is withdrawing from Russia temporarily, whilst retaining and paying their staff their salaries. That's a pretty big business decision, but they believe it's the right thing to do. I think it would be very presumptuous of me to try to tell any other company what they should do, as it will come down to their own circumstances, of course. But then again, with regards of the iGaming industry, we have an important role to play. In specifics, when it comes to iGaming, I believe that preventing money laundering and dealing with problem gambling is as important as ever, maybe even more so at this point in time. And it might be an opportunity for the iGaming industry to come even closer together, to synchronize, to work more collectively, to coordinate their efforts in these very important areas, to perhaps even take a step further and improve.
Thank you. Well, that was my last question for today. Thank you very much, Peter, for your time, for your expertise, for the valuable insights. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. I will probably let you go and wrap up the stream for today.
Well, thank you very much, Julia, and everyone who listened in. I would not say it's about my expertise. Maybe you could say experience, considering my age. But this is about sharing. We all need to share our experiences to see how we can utilize them in the best way, given this rather extreme situation. And let's just hope that it ends sooner rather than later.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you. As for our viewers, guys, I will see you next week as promised. Again, we're gonna largely divide our attention between various countries within Latin American iGaming market, and we will dive deep to see what's going on there. I will see you next week. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.